Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on the 4th of February. So yesterday was a day of surprises. Firstly, we saw the voting come out for the Bank of England. It was no surprise in terms of the interest rate levels. There was a wide expectation of that, but the voting came out as only a narrow margin. 5-4 was the score. For the only 0.25%, there was many asking for 0.5%, so well, 4 of them to be precise. So that was that. That sent the pound moving up a bit, but it was marginally more bullish than letting on there. But then we had the euro, and with the slight missing of 3 words, exception of 3 words, the statement was exactly the same. But when the lady started speaking, Lagarde, it was all of a sudden, we're a little bit worried about this, effectively coming out, and it looks like, well, they're more likely to realise that inflation is going to be with us for a while, and they might need to do something about it. Now, we're seeing it already discussed to be priced in come September through the end of the year. That'll gradually get priced. What it does mean in the short term is the euro's coming away from obviously lows. That's obvious technically, but it may also give it some further upside. Now today we got non-farm payrolls, key figures, and the Wednesday's figure didn't come out too well. Now the ADP is as useful as a chocolate teapot. Let me bring today on here. So we had the ADP on. That's wrong about 8 times out of 10, I think it is. But a negative surprise here on the well, it's an either or. We could get some decent volatility if the employment change figures are particularly anywhere near forecast or lower. We would probably see the dollar sold. A more positive figure on this, a dollar buy, because it's already priced in. The average earnings being the key figure here, again a more positive number. Even if we have a little bit of a drop on the employment change but have a higher hourly earnings rate, we could see the dollar take off a little bit. So that's where we are. One thing to watch out for. Oh, it is there. Broadband is there. We've got. I was going to say we've got Bank of England speakers today. I found in other news elsewhere. I didn't see it here, but we got the chief economist Peel is also speaking on Friday. So we've got MPC Broadbent, that's number 2 in command there, Deputy Governor, speaking. So that will be. I would imagine we'll see a bit of volatility around 12.15, so just beware. Right, okay. So volatility. 12 o'clock, 12.15, whatever it is, 12.15, and 1.30 for sure. Right, so how are these markets going today? Well, the euro's at a bit of a key point here. If you look on my little wave situation here, it's close to exceeding the high of that previous wave there. A break above that does make it look more bullish, and I would expect it may have a little bit more to run. Now obviously all those technicals can get thrown out this afternoon if data comes out different to what it's expected, but it does look like it's got some potential. That said, on a daily basis now we're into our 5th day of up days. It's already pushing up there. Will that high at 14.83 provide sufficient resistance to stop price pushing up any further? I'm going to be probably once again sitting and waiting. It's a sitting and waiting game on these markets. There's a bit of divergence as you come down the markets here on the hourlies there, but the only way that I'd be looking at that is if it starts breaking lower and actually giving a bit more of a signal. Has got the daily pivot, of course, below. That would be a target on some days, but on a day like this, it's a waiting game. Pound. So the pound pushed up yesterday. It didn't have the same oomph in it, but as I said, it's been marginally greater expectations of the pound. You see the push up there, which did eventually happen, but it was hardly the sort of run that we saw on the euro there. But consolidated ever since, and even the bars next to it, there we go, never did too much. We saw that big outside bar there, then that was it. It just consolidated. Looking a bit bearish first thing this morning, already down into its pivot. Well, what would drive this more bullish? And we could see a move at 12 o'clock, as I say, 12:15. Is a break of really looking at the key level I'm looking at, and I think a lot of traders will be looking at, is the break of this trend here. We'll just see how things develop. If this carries on rolling over, well, the S1 could easily be in sight. But as I said, these morning markets on non-farms can be difficult. We sometimes get a good move to start with. Fingers crossed, eh? Dollar yen, daily wise, bullish looking. Here the yen's not really moved anywhere like anything else. No interest rate increases there in any time near term, and we might see this sold more widely. The yen, it's pushing up now, and it might be the one that's going. It's just literally, I'm just looking at the owlies here, and it's just pushing through here. It's missed its daily pivot, but it may be wanting to nip up their TL1. There's not a lot of pips in it, but certainly looks like that's the route it could be taking. But it's worth waiting for another 8 minutes or so and watching what happens post 8 o'clock as everything adjusts slightly. Okay, Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar's put in a doji yesterday. It remains marginally weaker for me, regardless of what's going on elsewhere. There was a bit of a mixed pattern in terms of they might increase interest rates we saw earlier in the week, or may have to look at them sometime this year. Well, it's getting left behind a little bit maybe, and it might get left behind even more. Again, divergence over the highs here. A break below those lows at 71 would be a more bearish move. Just coming down the time frames here, look, you've got all this trend, like I say trend, all these lows sitting around there, sort of lower lows coming through. Then it managed to run with the others. The dollar was being sold, but maybe a break of the, dare I say it, the S1. Not my favourite type of trade when it's breaking S1s. Might give us sort of a bigger move to the downside, but yeah. Seeing where it is in relation to its pivots doesn't look so good, although technically it looks better without them. It's the market, sometimes you're better off without the indicators. Canadian dollar, again, this is a bit of a softer one. Even yesterday really didn't do too much. It ended up on a negative day for the Canadian dollar. The US dollar pushing up slightly and holding in positive territory, and today we're already seeing the US dollar pushing stronger. Now break above the 34 or 4-hourly 34, that high there at 27.15 puts it into much more positive territory. Likewise, I suppose if you do see a breakdown of these lows, it could be a bit more bullish for the Canadian dollar, but it's really been in this sort of ranging pattern, a choppy pattern, where it is a lot of the time it's choppy. Some of these bars overlapping, and we do have, of course, the non-farms or the employment data for the Canadian dollar coming out, or Canada I should say, coming out later as well. So just be aware at 12:30, got the Canadian data out, just whilst I think of it. Okay, that's the majors. Let's have a look at gold. What's gold up to this morning? I've lost yesterday. And I don't want to refresh. Gold, well, at the moment it's pushing up. Let's have a look at the shorter time frames. It might tell me more. Okay, it didn't really push too much. It's been this week. It's run into its monthly pivot there, staying on the underside of that monthly pivot at the moment. The weekly pivot's just below it as well. So both pivots holding up, and although it's putting high lows, higher highs, it's still on the sort of bearish side of things. If looking at the pivot wise, a break back maybe above the 200 would be clearer, would be a bit more of a bullish scene, but it's not really tearing away, is it? Just slowed up a little bit, and yep, there's the mess from yesterday. Sold off really strongly coming into the news there, then managed to get back, but it looks iffy. So there you go, iffiness. Oil. Now I'm reliably told that at some point in the future that we're going to have in the second quarter, according to I can't remember who it was now. I read it somewhere. One of the analysts suggesting that we'll run into a build up of reserves, but at the moment oil's not just totally ignoring everything. Bullish engulfing yesterday, or a continuation pattern really, or buy yesterday, and we're seeing that continuation going on through today. Yeah, quite a solid day eventually when it kicked off yesterday afternoon. Started picking up and running through. So it was the real bar coming in at 3 o'clock there. Was a surprise, but again picking up, pushing through. Today where we're sitting, well, daily pivot underneath. Would like to see a little bit of a correction this morning. It looks like it might go in reverse in terms of pushing our first end roll, but I won't be on the selling side of that oil. Right, moving on. Let's have a look at, to bring the right charts up, let's have a look. I had to look at Ethereum last night for my son. Goodness, I need to charge him soon. My services. Okay, so Bitcoin ended up yesterday. It was negative when I was looking late afternoon time yesterday, but it turned the corner a little bit towards the end there. There's a little bit more positivity coming through. It's likewise with Ethereum. I actually like Ethereum better now. It's starting. It's okay. It's only a one down bar in between, but putting a little higher low in there on the shorter time frames, if you're looking at it, it's a bit more of a positive step at the moment. Big day today, though, of course, for non-farms, and we do see a run through into Ripple and Ripple. XRP, whatever we like to call it, but we'll see a move we'll see a reaction generally into the crypto market. So just bear that in mind. We do seem to these days much more. Okay, I'm just looking through. All these coins are basically the same here in terms of generally either flat or just pushing back a little bit, but it's only a one bar sort of, or 2 bar pullback. I don't know. Maybe we'll see something a little bit more of these. Okay, let's have a look at the indices. Finish off with the indices. Started off looking at the only one that's open there, and the Nikkei is open today. It was open today. Just checking. So a gap down, pushed up a little bit in the end, closed up. It's showing the signs of where things were in Asia there, but as we come through, we're not quite for the FTSE yet. Let's have a look at that last. Actually, let's go backwards. The Nifty selling off this morning, or in its morning session, getting to the afternoon, selling there at the moment, but recovering slightly. So there is some hope. S&P mini futures, well, those two, I don't know what's that. It's gapped and then a little bit gap on here. It looks for some reason, very odd, but bit of price action, and maybe from the 10 o'clock move. Gapped up afterwards, maybe news coming out. Yep, that would be driving that. That's the reason why it's gone where it's gone. But coming off this morning from where it was, let's put it that way. Dow Jones erring a little bit more bullish there. So that's where we are with the US markets futures at the moment. The DAX, well, it's actually opened and it's looking minorly positive at the moment. It's curled round though. It's still overall, to me, it looks negative in this bearish sort of market, and the CAC's pretty much the same. Although we'll see what they do today. Interest rates in the Europe were probably not expected to increase, so we'll see what comes of that. Okay. Finally, let's see if it's there. It's not there yet. It's not opened yet, so we're not going to have the FTSE, but just look at where the FTSE got to yesterday. Struggled. Oh, there we go. So it's just opening, just showing on here. But it's yesterday. Here you go. It's pushing up a little bit of a positive start to go with. There we go. Well, who knows? It might eventually get past yesterday's highs. Then, at this rate, it might do it very quickly. But much more positive outlook, and it is the strongest index out there at the moment. It's pushing around its previous highs, and there you go. It's going to do it whilst I'm speaking. Couldn't trade that one then. Right, I wish you a great day and a great weekend, and I'll catch you back on Monday. Bye for now.